Well, another day and another new car brand to launch in Australia. This is the first offering from Jayco, which is part of the Chery family. So I guess it makes it a stone fruit of some kind of form. Is it a peach? Well, we'll find out, because this is supposed to make Chery a little bit more upmarket, where the Omoda and the Tiggo range are really trying to appeal to a value-oriented family buyer. The Jayco range, and this is the J7 front-wheel drive, is a little bit more. And once we go through the car, I'll show you where there's some features and trim. It really tries to step it up. Now, this is the first offering from Jayco. There will be hybrids, there will be other variants, but it is a taste of what to expect from yet another new brand, really trying to position hard at that value end for the SUV buyer. Is the Jayco J7 a peach of a cherry? Well, let's find out. The Jayco J7 is powered by a 1.6-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder petrol engine with 137 kilowatts and 275 Nm output. This model is front-wheel drive and uses a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. The J7 has a claimed combined cycle fuel consumption of 7 litres per 100 kilometres, and while pricing has not been officially announced, Jayco are suggesting the entry-level J7 Core will land somewhere between $35,000 and $40,000 drive away. Well, let's start at the business end. Jayco quote around 7 litres per 100 on a combined cycle. On the way out here, now we're in Akuna Bay just north of Sydney, we were sort of averaging about mid-7s, which was a bit of stop-start traffic and some 80 kilometre an hour highway driving. So again, it kind of does what it says on the box. The key though is the interior. This being an SUV, let's take a look there, because I think this is where the J7 will find a lot of friends. Now I know what you're saying, why talk to me about the interior of a new SUV and start in the back? Well, you know what, I'm just going a little bit wild, because this is where your family is going to sit, and this is where room is important. And as you can see, I've got plenty of room back here. In fact, I've got way more room than I had on my Qantas flight up this morning. Take notice, Red Rat, because this is great. I'm really comfortable. I've got a stack of headroom. I've got good knee room. Plus, I have the ability to move the passenger seat out of the way, which is a feature that you've sort of been finding on more upmarket vehicles. Now, this is the higher grade of the two J7s. There's the Core, there's the Track. That's what this is. You do get some nicer things, Sony branded audio, some extra equipment and bits and pieces like that. For rear passengers, you've got USB-A and USB-C. There's an air vent. There's twin map pockets, all sorts of stuff to hold well, maps, if you even know what they are anymore. You've got door buckets. It feels kind of good and grippy. I'm sitting low. I've got good vision. It's not a bad place to spend time. So big tick here. Now, before we jump up front, let's just talk a little bit about the party end of the Jayco J7. It's a pretty cool rear end. You've got these funky side reflectors here. You've got twin exhaust tip fake outlets. The actual exhaust pipe is under here, so don't even worry about that. But the boot has got space saver spare, it's got a jack, it's got 12-volt outlet, it's got luggage hooks, you've got a cargo cover, you've got a 60/40 rear seat, plenty of room back there. So it is a practical car. All right, I promise we'll get up front. Okay, so up front in the J7, there's a few things to call out, and it's kind of nice. It's a little bit interesting, but it is kind of nice. You've got this sort of soft rubbery feature here on the dash. You've got a fake stitched top dash, but it is a fake stitched top dash. You've got this element there that looks like a bit of a piano key, but it's got a bit of character. There's some ambient lighting. It feels like it's been put together reasonably well. Here, there's plenty of storage. You've got twin phone trays. You've got a charge pad, 2 big cup holders. You've even got a vertical phone holder there. There's storage under here. There's storage under here. There's even, fold that down, the chicken bag hook that you can put your takeaway to hang on the front there, which I think is actually a really handy thing. Probably the biggest thing to call out though is the giant portrait screen here. Now you can see I'm running full screen Apple CarPlay just to show you the detail here. It's a really nice integration. If you go back into the native Jayco system, it's an Android based tablet. So some of these apps can be updated. There may be some more down the line, but it's relatively responsive to touch both on the move. You've got a lot of configuration here for your driver assistance and other settings of the car. You can basically configure things to how you want. I'll talk about driver assistance in a tick, but there is a lot going on here that you can do. Once again, As we've seen, there's still some finesse that needs to happen here for that user interface side of things. You do have those elements where you need to swipe around and do things. A little bit of time to get used to, but it's kind of like an iPad. So tomorrow's generation of drivers will probably be at home. The digital display in front of the driver, again, fully featured, easy to configure. You've got buttons on the steering wheel that can change what you see there. There's an attention monitor camera here on top of the steering wheel, boss. Ignore the TomTom, that was just here to guide me to get me here today. But in general, it feels pretty good. It feels well featured. It feels well thought out. It's not the last word in quality. It doesn't feel European or anything like that. But it's nice, it's quiet, it's generally pretty good. We'll go for a quick drive. We'll talk about another thing that kind of stands out nicely on the Jaecoo J7 here on some of these winding roads. So as I said, the 1.6 litre turbo petrol up front, it's pretty standard these days. And you know what? Performance is okay. We're going to accelerate away here. Peak power's not until about 5,000 RPM. You're never going to use that in traffic. This is an urban runner and it's fine, really. It keeps up with flowing traffic. You've got a little bit of punch to get away if you need to, but in general, it's a pretty, well, comfy car, and that's the key. The ride quality of this has been, what I would like to say, pretty impressive. A lot of the new to market cars tend to be softer and they will hit a bump and then sort of oscillate as the damping doesn't feel really sorted. This actually feels pretty good. You find it will manage bumps quite well, it will recover quite well, and in general feels reasonably comfy. The one issue that I have in normal drive mode is the steering though, because it's really soft, and on a winding road like this, which is pretty abnormal to be driving on, I'll give it that, but even turning into streets in urban areas, it's really soft. You feel like you've got to put a lot of wind on the wheel to kind of do anything. But if you pop it into sport mode, it feels just that little bit tighter and an awful lot more direct, and arguably a little bit more fun, which I know is a pretty wild thing to say about a value-oriented family SUV. But in this mode, feels punchy, the brakes feel good, the suspension, it's not dynamic by any stretch, but it does feel reasonably well sorted. And on this winding road, we're only doing 60 k's an hour here. It feels like it's comfy and confident and not overly stressed. We don't feel like we're pushing a block of flats around a corner or anything like that. The little J7 is actually quite well behaved on these roads. Now the transmission and all that sort of stuff, you might sort of think, geez, James, you never talk about any of the hardware in the cars anymore. We kind of don't need to, right? It's an automatic. It really just does it all by itself. It's very smooth. It's not laggy. There are no paddles to override, by the way, so I'm just kind of at the mercy of what the transmission will do. But it's not jerky. It's not like a CVT where you feel it's sort of elastic and never really changes. It's just managing itself quite well. And for a car like this and the segment that it operates in, the less said about the transmission, the better. You want it to just do stuff in the background and be easy and smooth to drive, and that's what you've got in this thing. So for basic hardware, I think we're pretty well sorted. And there we go, over a couple little bumps, it feels pretty good. And I think that ride quality of, yes, comfort oriented, but being able to be managed and soaking up those bumps quite well, that's a big tick for me, because it's quite hard, it seems, to get that right. Cars are either way too firm or they oscillate way too much. So I think we've gone a bit Goldilocks here on the J7, and they've set it up really nicely.
The local Jaecoo team have been working on the Advanced Driver Assistance System Calibration, or ADAS, for the J7, and it certainly feels improved from some earlier Chery implementations. The adaptive cruise control and traffic queuing functions work reasonably well, but the lane keep can feel quite aggressive. Luckily, the car has been configured with shortcut actions to quickly turn the various ADAS functions on or off, depending on your driving needs.
Now, one more thing before we go. You get hideaway door handles like on a Range Rover, kind of cool. Indicative pricing, we don't know full details yet, but the range is expected to start sort of mid to high 30s, goes up a bit higher for the track. Core is going to start with a 3 in front, which is definitely an appealing price point for a lot of buyers. First looks though, given that this is an early car, it's an early look and it's a quick drive, the Jaecoo J7, do you know what? A lot of space, comfy to drive, reasonably economical for what it is. It's not trying too much, it's not trying to be too special, but I tell you what, it's doing okay. Can't wait to have a look at what the rest of the range is going to be. Really keen to see it with a hybrid, but would like to see what the J7 is going to be like with a bit more time under its wheels. Now, of course, if you want to find out anything more about the Jaecoo, the J7, anything else that the Jaecoo brand is doing, head on over to drive.com.au. If you've enjoyed this clip, want to know more, hit like, hit subscribe, and of course, if you are in the market for a car, head on over to Drive, where we have thousands of new and quality used cars for sale at drive.com.au.
What did you think of the Jaecoo J7, Chery's first go at a more upmarket SUV? Let us know in the comments below. But if you want to check out one of the Jaecoo's key competitors, check out our review of the new MG HS here.